What do you remember?
Do you remember when it was last September?
This week we looked at a message, and one of the points in the message was personal principles for maximum living. And the first principle was be joyful. And we see that Paul is communicating, and he's telling us to be joyful even at all times. Be joyful at all times. And Brother Mike talked to us about this, and he said, listen, it's not joy. We can experience joy, but joy is not based on our circumstances. That's happiness. Happiness is based on what happens, but joy is just something that's deep rooted, but it's not so deep rooted that it's just lives in the theoretical and it's nothing we can experience. Joy can actually be experienced. It's this thing that we can have in the depths of our heart, in the depths of our soul, and it's connected to Jesus. Our joy is found in the fact that, as Brother Mike so wisely pointed out, that our name as believers is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And so what can happen? How do we have joy? Because it's hard to have joy at all times. How can we do that? And this is what I was thinking about. Every circumstance we're faced with in life, whether good or bad, we have two options. And those two options are this: remember Jesus or remember Satan. Now, we don't actually, it's what I'm saying when I say remember Satan. What I'm not saying is that we remember who he is or whatever. What I'm saying is it plays out like this. We remember the things that Satan says about us. Remember, he's the accuser. And the tough part about that is we hear these accusations and we remember our failures and our faults. And Satan speaks and he communicates to us and he says things like, yeah, you can't do it. Remember the last time you tried this? Remember the last time you failed? Or he'll say things like this. You may combat Satan and say, no, Jesus says I'm this or Jesus says I'm that. And then he'll say, yeah, well, how did that work out last time for you? How did that work out last time you stepped out in faith? And maybe you didn't make it or whatever that looks like. He'll do anything to communicate to you. And so we have two options. Remember what Satan says and what he says about us, or we can remember what Jesus says and what Jesus says about us and what that means for our lives. And if we remember what Jesus says about us, then we'll actually have that joy, because Jesus calls us children of God, adopted sons and daughters. We're one with him. What can be said of Christ can be said of us if we're found in him in belief. So this week, how can you have joy in all circumstances? Well, Brother Mike gave us a great tool that we can use. So it went like this: Jesus, others, and you. When you think about joy, think about Jesus first. Remember Jesus. Remember what Jesus says and who he is, and that will cause you to think about others. And then that will actually result in being what's best for you, or you experiencing joy in every circumstance. If you want joy, Jesus, others, you. Jesus, others, you. Write that down somewhere, stick it on a sticky note, put it on your mirror, put it in your car, and remember, Jesus, others, you. That's how we remember Jesus, and that's how we have joy in every circumstance.
Hey, if you want to check out our last Whiteboard Wednesday, click here. If you want to try to connect with us on social media, and we want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel right here.